coming up next.
But especially for Christians, as we're trying to emulate Christ and we're trying to give and serve and fix others and make everything right for the kingdom, I found that it sneaks on us. And when I've put in and connected things together, I realized, oh, there is actually a physiological process that if we miss it, we kind of fall into this hidden burnout. And I can talk more about that.
Welcome to Faith Over Addiction podcast, where the chains of fixing and striving are broken and joy is rediscovered in Christ. You are here because you know there's more for you, a life beyond addiction's chaos, rooted in God's peace and promises. This is the place where Christian women like you learn to release the weight of fixing and striving and instead lean into God's strength to create a home filled with love, grace, and hope. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Proverbs 31:25. That's you. You may not feel like it yet, but you are stronger than you know. And God has so much more for you than carrying someone else's addiction. Here, we'll uncover how to set healthy boundaries with love and a little humor. Find resilience and grace in the messy moments of life. Celebrate small victories and embrace joy like never before. Lean into God's promises for restoration and strength because He's not done with your story or your loved ones. This is your invitation to rise up, embrace your worth in God's kingdom, and take back what's been stolen by addiction, your peace, your joy, your future. Your faith is the foundation and your boundaries are the bridge, and God's truth is your guide. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host and fellow traveler on this journey through the chaos of addiction. I'm here to cheer you on, equip you with tools that work, and share the truth that's changed my life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Together, we'll uncover how to create safe, loving space for healing, starting with your own heart and home. By setting boundaries, trusting God's plan, and embracing His truth, you can reclaim your joy, your peace, and your family's future. Then you will be able to stand firm for your family and legacy as a kingdom daughter, a woman who can laugh at the days to come, knowing her identity is secure in Christ. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and get comfortable. Let's walk this journey together. We're about to take back what's been stolen, create a safe, healing space for you and your family, and rediscover the joy God has waiting for you. What is hidden burnout, especially for women who are struggling to support those dealing with addiction? I have Dr. Ioana Popa here with me today. She is a national board certified life and leadership coach, spiritual care provider, physician, psychiatrist, speaker, trainer, and master in theology. And her podcast is called Thriving in Christ. So I encourage you to go over there and listen to her as well. But what we want to talk about is this hidden burnout. So I want to give us a little more of a definition and a little background on you.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for having me today. I'm really, really excited and honored, and may God bless you and your ministry. I think this is just so wonderful to be here. So hidden burnout is a term that I coined that has to do with the way our body responds to stress. And I can go into more details around that because we don't know when we're heading towards burnout. Then this is why I burn out twice. And it's not because of the lack of information or lack of tools. You know, I'm in the field for almost 4 decades. So it's been a long journey, but especially for Christians, as we're trying to emulate Christ and we're trying to give and serve and fix others and make everything right for the kingdom, I found that it sneaks on us. And when I've put in and connected things together, I realized, oh, there is actually a physiological process that if we miss it, we kind of fall into this hidden burnout. And I can talk more about that and kind of unpack that. But yeah, what do you want to know about me? I mean, with 4 decades, I can talk for 2 days, and I'm also a storyteller. So You just tell me what you need to know.
Well, so the curiosity is, so you coined the term hidden burnout. Now, I think most of us have an idea of where burnout is,
Mm.
but give us more of your perspective based on two burnouts, being in the field for a couple decades, and how you came to term the hidden part of it.
Yes. So burnout traditionally, it started in the occupational field, was very much connected just to that field. Is someone who stopped performing, they're losing interest, they lose their motivation, they're not working. It could be because of a mismatch with their workplace and whatnot. I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, especially after COVID,
Mm,
it's been really mushroomed and really open. People feel burnout as a existential experience. And of course, there is lots and lots of literature written about it. I used to even teach a course in college around how to prevent stress and burnout, and there's psychological research on that. But what was interesting is putting it together with the way our body responds, the way God created our body. See, we're meant to. We're having limitations. We're not
mm,
meant to just go, 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 go. Even Christ stopped after healing the multitudes. He would went to the desert and he had his own inner circle. Yes, he healed everyone, but he wasn't like spending all his time doing things for every single person on earth. I mean, he could have done
mm,
probably miracles for all the humanity. So there's something even in Christ interaction that we see that yes, he is actually setting some boundaries. He
mm,
is going on his own, reconnecting with God. So our body is not meant to go, go, go. And what I've noticed is obviously in the last, I don't know how many years, especially with the online platform nowadays, there's so many opportunities. The connectivity is like infinite. The
yeah.
opportunities that we have are almost infinite. And we live in a very busy world and culture with things to do and also exciting things to do. Never mind people asking us to help and whatnot. And on top of that, we have our family, we have our church, we have our work. So there's a lot going on, and we think that we can just go on and on and on. But here's a thing on a biological level. This is how God created our body. We go through an acute stress reaction initially, and that could last for a few weeks, who knows, a month or two. But then the body is supposed to return to a regular rhythm, and but many times we don't. And this is where the body kicks into the resistance phase. So we have an acute stress reaction, and then we have a resistant phase. In this phase, actually, it looks like we got it. I
Mm,
have 20 balls in the air. I can do this. I can take care of this family member, this at work, all the projects. Oh, do you want me to volunteer? Sure. I'm raising my hand. Let me volunteer more. It feels really good. And what happens though, the body goes into a resistant phase, and this is where the stress hormones are really kicking up
mm,
and
mm,
gearing up. So we feel good because the stress hormones are working over time. But the way the stress hormones are working, Tanya, is they actually um, almost like use energies from whatever places they can find in our body, and it's almost like going and buying groceries constantly on credit card. Eventually the debt is forming, and when it's too hard and the body's depleted, immunity goes down, then we're starting feeling tired, we constantly feel like on a treadmill. You might even get sick first few days of vacation. Suppose,
yes.
right?
Yes, because you've slowed down just enough for the body to go, hey, we need to recuperate. Is that what's
Right.
going on?
Exactly. And the chronic stress hormones are like, okay, we got this. We need to recuperate, but the immunity is low. So this is where we see all these issues coming up: decision fatigue, feeling tired, Sunday night blues if you're starting your week
Oh,
on Monday, right?
yes.
So all these things are like and it was interesting because I did a retreat. I lead retreats. And on one retreat, someone asked, what do you mean? This is not how it's supposed to be? Like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. We are not meant to do this way. And by the time we hit burnout, so to speak, when we feel like we're exhausted, there's no more energy, please, no more human to appear in my face.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what to do with our vocation, work is confusion, might get into a sickness, physical sickness coming up out of the blue. I have
Mm-hmm.
people that describe all of a sudden my back is hurting, like where is this coming from? Or they
Mm-hmm.
have joint pain or whatever out of the blue with no history, or mental health problems, it's a bit too late because now we have to undo our system. So I like to call it the hidden burnout because it is hidden. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I burned out twice. Okay, the first time I attributed to this reason or that reason, I wasn't in the right place, the right profession, I've changed so many professions and tried out so many trainings, trying to find my way. So mind you, that was my journey also. But
Right.
part of it was not being able to set the right boundaries, not being able to take care of myself. And I had this vision, and this is what Christians, many Christians do, especially Christian women. I had this vision, if I only pray, I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Pray more. Pray the right
Pray
prayer.
more.
I don't have the book out here, but get the right book. Or, what singing
Yes.
is praying twice. Do I have enough scriptures on my wall? It is really
Yes.
interesting what we get fed from all sources. I wouldn't just say our personal churches, but from all sources. So, how did you help yourself and how do you help your coaching clients unpack that?
Yes, that's such a great question. So interestingly, because it comes slowly, as there's not like a lot of bells and whistles. And I would say this, if you're listening, as a Christian, especially as a Christian woman, the better you become, the more people are going to come to you, the more opportunities you're going to have, the more is going to be expected of you. And you think, oh, I can do this. And then the last minute, who knows what might happen? Something with your family member, something in church, something doesn't go well. And then we're like, there's no more bandwidth. So the first time I came out of it, I mean, I changed my vocation.
Mm-hmm.
But interestingly, and this is where I quit psychiatry actually for several years. And I said, oh, I wanted really to teach. And
Ah,
I've tried it.
okay.
I homeschooled my kids for 1 year and I loved it. I'm like, okay. And I realized that I had this conversation with God, like, I don't know, God, what to do, but it felt like I had to try it. And
Mm-hmm.
I moved to education and done that. And I would continue though, because of this fixing part of myself and trying to be the super mom, superwoman. Guess what? I burn out again,
Mm.
right? Because we find ourselves in the same kind of situation. I found myself in the same situation. So I've done a lot of inner work. I went through, and went through a very unexpected divorce about 12 years ago. So that to me, that was like my whole world, like just shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And I did therapy, and then I did a lot of coaching for myself with a coach. And then I also done lots of trainings like internal family systems, psychosynthesis. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But my point was, here's what the dilemma that I found. And I don't know if you've experienced this, Tanya, in work, in talking with others. I found there were either resources from Christianity, lots of support through books, through talking with different people in the church, but they were not necessarily aware of the psychological laws.
Right.
So we could
Right.
do all that, but almost like a spiritual bypass. And if I can pray more, if I can do this more, I can be at church more. But if we don't grow psychologically, we're violating some of these laws. And on the other hand, I found a lot of help in the secular world. Obviously, I've been trained as a physician psychiatrist. That's where I worked, right? So there's a lot of therapies, a lot of methodologies, but they were violating the spiritual world law. Not to
Mm-hmm.
mention the Christian, missing God. Like all of a sudden, even if you were spiritual, it had to be some sort of a universal.
Universal whole thing. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. So
absolutely.
I found that I was struggling to find the right combination. So, after a while of keep searching, I realized, instead of complaining, I need to start. I need to start doing this for other Christian women. So this is where I start. Okay. So I train as a coach. And then I've done, my training in spirituality and Christian in theology and putting all things together so that, and actually my one of my core programs, the Renewal in Action, which is an online program, people can just sign up for it, is it started during COVID because
Ah, when people really needed it because they
when,
were going home to unexpected things, really.
exactly, and here's what happened. Most people were home stuck,
Mm,
but some frontal line professionals were literally constantly facing danger, and they
mm-hmm,
were needed over and over. Like my husband, he's a chaplain, he was in the hospital all the time,
mm-hmm,
and the stress were intense. Nurses, physicians, I had a friend who was a physician and he was like desperate to find our help, and here I am stuck at home. I wasn't complaining. I like working from home. It was great, but I
right.
felt like I need to give. And this was a great time where I put together, um, coming back to your question, how do I help others and how others can really do this? You want to prevent this by doing steps today, like
Mm,
not in the future. Many times people kind of, let's wait for the best retreat. Let's wait for the a weekend. But guess what? Vacation or retreat happens, I might get sick or my kids get sick. And, the weekend comes and something unexpected happens. So I realize we have to do it today. So I have a methodology, a renewal blueprint to really renew body, mind, heart, and soul 4 times a day. And this is based on also psychological research on caring for others. But the idea is that we cannot miss. We can regenerate on our spirit, which is awesome, but we
mm,
cannot miss regenerating on our body. And we
mm,
cannot miss regenerating and taking care of our emotions,
mm-hmm.
which are many times doors to our needs. And we need to really take care of
They're
our.
showing up when we don't want them, right?
Exactly.
And we're like, hey,
Exactly.
I feel dysregulated.
Yes,
Let me trace that back to I haven't been sleeping well, or I put a whole
exactly.
bunch of junk in my butt. We had a birthday party yesterday. I don't like the kind of cake, so I didn't eat it. And I thought, I'm going to feel better tonight because I
Yes,
didn't put that junk in. I
that's
love
right.
that. So the Sunday blues kind of triggers me a little bit because I know I do better with routine. And then on Sunday, we try and rest. So, how do you rest so it doesn't trigger the sadness,
Mm,
the possible things? Oh, I'm not doing as well as I could, or I'm out of routine. How do you talk to the body and say, "Hey, we're resting today. It's okay."
yeah. Well, let me ask you this. The Sunday night blues, does it come as in, I just want more rest and not start my Monday? Or is it sad for the weekend and wrapping up, or for
It's more
not
of
being
this.
in the routine?
Yeah, it's more of the slow down. Now I have time to think about these things that are not going as well as I would want them to.
Mm,
I don't want to do that. It's almost that fear of rest because if I get into that space, then I have, Christ calls us into rest, right? But then I have that time to brood. Let's put it as brooding. It's almost like when my kids were little, I had one that just did not want to go to sleep because he could miss something. And so he would go to exhaustion and then just be miserable, which I think is some of what you're talking about with the hidden burnout is we
right.
begin to feel better, but then we just hit the wall. So that's
Oh,
what Sunday is like for me. It's almost like hitting the wall and saying
by resting.
by resting.
Yes, yes, yeah. That is kind of like the hidden burnout because we just go, 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 go. So when we actually do rest, we can feel like number one might not be enough. Number two, who wants to go again on the treadmill if it does feel like a treadmill? Number three, I might want to rest, but I don't even know how to rest. Like
Or
I,
if I rest, all these thoughts are going to come up and I'm allowing them. That's what I see a lot of times with
exactly.
people who are screen stuck is they keep doing the screen because their mind would go places they don't want it to go. And what does Christ say? Take all your thoughts captive so they are in a sense, but not in a healthy. way. I see that in myself. I see that in clients of I'm just going to keep running because if I stop, the
Right.
monster shows up.
Right. And I think that's because we bypass the true regeneration, which is body, mind, heart, and soul. And the short answer to what you said, we do need to create mini vacations every day. That's kind of my one of the suggestions that I have. We need to find a way to pause. And number two, yes, we are very in tune with regenerating on a body level. Okay, most people need flash news about 7.5 to 9 hours a night. I was like so shocked, like, hello, I don't want to sleep that long. Can I just sleep 6 7 hours and be okay? Right?
No.
But it's a reality. It's a
Yeah.
reality. And by the way, just as a side note, if you don't know exactly how many hours of sleep you need, just wait for vacation and just for a few days, once you're rested fully, just see and count how many hours you actually naturally sleep without the alarm. And this
Mm.
is why I realized, oh, I need 8 hours. Okay. But what we don't know very much is how to regenerate on an emotional level and how to regenerate on a mind level. And that's what
Mm.
I go in depth on Renewal in Action program. I actually do also coaching for women. I had a Heart in Christ program, and I also do executive coaching. Like if anyone is in, in a corporate world or profession, high level profession, that is, I'm specializing in that because there's certain needs that are particular for that kind of vocation and profession as we lead others. But the relaxing of the mind of emotions are really important. And I'm going to give like a few tips right now. So, on emotional level, I don't know if you might be familiar or not, or the listener about the Maslow pyramid of needs.
Mm-hmm.
This is way back almost, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 years ago. But we do have needs that when they are fulfilled on a balanced way, they
Mm-hmm.
don't pop up.
Mm-hmm.
So otherwise, it's like a pressure cooker, and we just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm not gonna take myself. So most of us know, okay, we have physiological needs, food, water, air, things like that. We also have safety needs. And I think as women, we are not always equipped to know that, oh, I just need to feel safe. I need to feel supported. And sometimes just asking for a big hug can be very helpful, like, or just give
Yes.
yourself a hug, like, okay,
Yes.
I'm okay. I'm okay. You're okay. I'm
Oh.
okay. There's a book on that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah.
Asking for that hug. So actually,
Ah,
I will out myself. We go down to my son and I go down and he plays a little basketball in the morning to our community center. There's a really nice woman who is there in the morning, and I lost my mom about 4 years ago. Not that we
mm,
were in the same state, but I went up to her one day cuz she's very warm, and I said, would you be able to give me a hug every time I come down? It
yeah.
has been a lifesaver. She seeks
Yes.
me out to do that. So if I
Amazing.
don't ask, she doesn't. But it was very difficult to be that vulnerable. I mean, we're in a public place. It wasn't like I was asking for something totally strange,
Right,
but
right.
it was very difficult to be that vulnerable, but I knew what I needed was I needed that feminine companionship that, once a week I'll have that at church or something like that, but I really needed it every day. And I was
Yes,
amazed at what it will do for me. And it's so simple. It takes less than 2 minutes.
exactly. And it's so I think as Christian women, as women in general, and Christian women, it's almost like we're not supposed to have needs.
Oh
And it's
my
so
gosh,
hard to
yes.
ask for our needs, but it's so essential. And things like love and belonging, those are so important needs. And when we don't feel like we give, we pour out to our family, to work, we're church, we're always warm, compassionate. But who gives to you?
Mm,
How do you feel that love and belonging? So that's important. It's important to ask. The other important need that we have, when I think in our church, we're not always doing a good service for that, is a need for esteem, is a
mm,
need for confidence, for respect, for recognition. And sometimes we consider that I'm prideful. Well, mind you, if we do that in excess, we're prideful, but we all need that. And bottom line, we're all super special anyway.
Right.
We're more precious than the rubies in God's eyes. So we really need to recognize it's normal, and we're so unique, and God loves us so intimately that it's okay to have that need and to even recognize that it's not given to us. So maybe you do have people that can recognize you, but if you don't, at least connect with God and just even say, God, I just need that to feel like I'm really precious and special in your life, in your eyes, or that you love me. And sometimes if you don't have someone to give you a hug, just you can give yourself a hug. Actually, it's so good. And even tapping in the back, it's just
Hmm.
like, as you're giving yourself a hug, and imagine God giving you a hug. It's because sometimes we don't have that person like you have. And we just say, can I please have a hug? Know that ultimately all our needs can be fulfilled by God. And if we can have others to help us, but at least to recognize them. And the biggest need that we have is that of self actualization, to really fulfill our highest potential in Christ and to keep growing in ways that are important for us. So, taking care of our emotional needs every day, it's a must. I mean, it can
Mm,
start as simple as, how is my heart doing? Here's another
mhm.
question if this doesn't resonate. What emotion do I have? Wouldn't you know, Tanya, that for the first 20, 30 years in my life, and mind you, I'm physician, young physician, psychiatrist, I know all the feelings and people talk about that. I couldn't recognize some of my feelings and what are my
Huh.
needs.
So kind of waking up in the morning and saying, I'm feeling like this, or checking in during the day and
Yes,
thinking, how does my body feel? How am I feeling?
exactly.
Instead of taking off and running. Now I wake up sad sometimes and I'm uncomfortable with that. But what I've learned to do is say, God, I'm sad, and just give
Exactly.
it over and say, I am sad right
That's
now.
it. That's it.
That's
And
it.
find a way to self-regulate. And what I love to say is we can co-regulate with God, right? So
That's
just
great.
Father God, help me here to regulate. You know what I mean? And us as women, sometimes we get um, put in with a label, oh, you're too emotional. Like, no, that's actually emotional intelligence. God gifted us with that. And it's okay that we have emotions. Just remember, underneath emotions, there are most likely needs. And then we can identify what those needs are, and we can say, who can fulfill my needs? If not, I am going to go to God and just and God is just so amazing in helping us. I call this like as I was a psychiatrist in Italy, he calls this a second waking up.
Mm, mhm.
And like we wake up in the morning in a certain way, the biological way, but how do we actually consciously wake up? And I have actually a program, daily podcast, private podcast, Wake Up to Your Soul, where I help people just start your day,
Mhm.
centered in God, with a little bit of a Bible, Bible verse, a little bit of a teaching, a contemplative practice to stay in that silence so that we can regenerate and connect with God. Now, that's the emotional level. But then we also want to think about the mind, and that's not usually, I mean, we talk about, yes, we want to regenerate, renewal of the mind, that is in the Bible. We think about taking captive the thoughts, but here is the reality from a psychological perspective. The thoughts have their own laws. They cannot be grasped.
Wait, you're gonna have to explain that. The thoughts have their own laws.
Exactly. So here's the
Okay,
thing.
explain that.
So we have a mind intelligence,
Yes.
we have emotional intelligence, and we have body intelligence. So
Mhm.
what does that mean? Intelligence is we mean there have laws. There are laws that we cannot override, right? I cannot override the way God created my body. There are laws very specific. If I eat too much sugar, I'm gonna end up with diabetes,
Mm.
insulin is gonna off, like all of that. We have emotional laws, and I shared some of them today, but also mind laws. So the thoughts, they come and go. We cannot control the thoughts. It's like trying to contain clouds. We cannot
Mhm.
contain them. So when we capture them, it's not like getting into a fist fight with our thoughts. Oh, this is a bad thought. I'm going to just punch it out of my consciousness, because it doesn't work that way. It's going to come back with a vengeance. And
So
this is
it's like clearing out, what does he say? If you clear out one demon but don't replace with the love of Christ, then 7 more are going to move into the empty
Kind
house.
of, kind of. So here's the image. Imagine inside almost like a factory of thoughts. We have like a spring. Imagine a spring, and I've read could be thousands, 10,000s of thoughts every day. They
It
just
feels that way.
come up
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Now, there are also thoughts from other people,
Mm.
social media, news, TV, talking. You're going to get
Mm-hmm.
new thoughts. Obviously, we also know they're God's thoughts, which are higher than our thoughts. And also, however you want to call it, from the evil one, thoughts from the evil one, unhelpful thoughts at all that can bring us down into the dumps. Now, we cannot believe all our thoughts. And this is a mistake most people do. We trying to fight our thoughts and believe them. Oh, if I'm saying that, that's wrong. I have to fight them. No, the simplest way to deal with them is just let them be. They're always going to go away. It's like watching clouds in the sky.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
I have
when,
a Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
So I practice centering prayer, which was taught by
Yes.
Father Thomas Keating. And his image was if you're sitting on the riverbank and a boat goes by, you let the boat go by. You don't get on the boat, check out what's in the hull, pull up the canvas, do all that stuff. You just let the thought process, because when you get in the boat, then the thought has taken over you. But if you just let it roll on by, you still have control over what's happening.
Exactly. And to give some more analogies to this, imagine your river with thousands of boats.
Oh, that's scary.
And some of them are so conditioned, they have megaphones and like, no, this is a true, yeah, la, la, la. And this is when we're pulled into the boat or into the movie. So
Yes.
just the practice, and I love that you practice centering prayer. I do contemplative practices and I teach people how to do it. It's just by sitting, even just for 2 minutes. And that's another tip to take away how to take care of our mind. If we
Mm.
do this daily, just sit and watch the thoughts and the practice of shifting the focus from almost like imagine driving a car. There's many cars in the backside, also coming from. Don't look at other cars. We're going to lose control of the car. We keep our eyes in front, that we'll keep our eyes on Jesus and walk on water, so to speak. But there are
Mm-hmm.
going to be lots of cars coming in, lots of thoughts coming in. We watch them with a peripheral vision.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes with you can center through a word. I like to use the Jesus prayer, very simple. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. You can just focus on the breath, just kind of a point of this attentive direction. But the rest is more like in the background. Will we get sidetracked? Every 10 seconds, yes. We're going to be on a boat. And then the
Yes.
task is to come back on the boat without being now inner critic, self-critic. Oh, I cannot focus. Oh, I cannot do this. No, this is
Yes.
human condition. This is how our brain is trained. So we're going to lose that focus every few seconds. The key is not to lose the focus. The key is to come back home.
I had another friend say to me that he was counting it as a win every time he came back. It's not
Yes.
that the going out was bad. It's that, hey, I am winning every time I come back. So what do you have to do to come back? You have to go out, right? Which the brain is going to do anyway. So
Right.
you're winning every time you come back in. It
Yes.
changed the whole thing for me from see, that what you're talking about is that inner critic. That's you're no good at this. You've been doing this for 20 years. You still can't do it. You're not blah, blah, blah. But the fruits are out there. I mean, I would not have the level of self control that I have, which is nowhere near perfect, without having done this for a long time because I
That's it.
can come back. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, high trigger times, I can still flame up, but the flaming is a lot less. And my teenagers have even noticed. I'm like, that's the greatest
Mhm.
compliment there is. So, as we're talking about the mind, what are some simple techniques that people, if you haven't practiced centering prayer or meditation or whatever, where can they start connecting mind, body, emotions in a tangible way? I mean, can they do it today?
Yes, and I think from the thought level, we have to remember that we have several psychological functions. I mean, we talked about emotion, we talked about thoughts, like this spring with lots and lots of thoughts, but there is another very important psychological function, which is awareness. I'm aware that I'm aware that I'm aware. And there's
Yes.
a place inside, I like to call it soul, but people call it spirit. Awareness would be in psychology or true self. That is like a gap. There's a space in between. Like if you're listening, even in between, you're going to listen to my words, but in between my words, there's silence. And it's the same inside, and that's the awareness. And when we can sit in that gap, even just for 2 nanoseconds extra, we have more choices. So, with the mind, there's one tip that I want to give. Most people think, oh, I want to relax from the day. I said, sure, take mini vacations, do mini vacations. I'll just relax, watch a movie, or look on social media, or check the news, or whatever. Here's the problem: the mind is like pinwheels, lots of thoughts through the day. We're like constantly busy, and it just needs some time to settle. The way to do that is actually through silence. Because if we can sit in silence, even just for 2 minutes, 5 minutes could be a stretch sometimes for us, but just let's say 2 minutes, what happens? The thoughts, if we don't hop on the boat, will be a bit more able to see the river. Or as you look at the sky, between the clouds, you see the sky. And they actually, at some point, they settle. Now, for some of us, it might need many more minutes. I would encourage to use a song then, if that helps to kind of stay focused. But as you do that, a mind settles, it's much easier to tap into and really nurture this awareness. What happens when we go on social media, news, trying to distract and let the mind be quiet, we think it settles down, but actually we get more information to the mind. And guess what's going to happen with the pinwheels? They're going to spin even harder.
Yes, the wind is blowing even harder. Why are we so afraid of silence?
Because we don't know what to do with that. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work. And that's what I do in all the programs like Renewal in Action or Wake Up to Your Soul, this private podcast, or in one to one. I help people to sit in silence. It can feel scary, but remember, here's a tip that it's so important from medicine. Everything in our body, we habituate to it if we can just hold it long enough. No sensation is forever. It dies down. That's why people get addicted, actually. They
Because they
try.
have to keep going more and more.
Exactly. But it's true the opposite as well. Any uncomfortable feeling or emotion or thought, if we don't react and practice a bit of non-reactiveness in the silence, it's gonna move forward and it's gonna go down, and a new thought might come, and usually, the emotion, the sensation in the body will die down or go down. The only time it doesn't is when we start thinking with emotion. They kind of go, oh, I have this emotion, oh my goodness, what's going to go, the thought get triggered, and then the thought will
Mm,
trigger more emotion. So I call it like a tango, we go
mhm.
between emotions and thoughts. But if we unhook from thoughts for a few minutes, unhook from emotions and body sensation, and stay in that space in between. Usually on the pinwheels, they're just settle. And it is scary at the beginning, but just know nothing inside can hurt us if we're not
So what you're saying, doctor,
afraid.
is if I step into that silence, I am not going to die. I'm not going to lose my mind. And even though there's a lot in me that says I could die if I step into the silence or stop talking or stop thinking, you're saying medically and psychologically, I actually will get better by stepping into what I am so afraid of, that silence.
That's such a great question. And this is not medical advice, by the way, as I will not be able to be there with you as you experience that. Obviously, use your judgment. If you need help, ask for someone to help you. If it's so scary that you feel like dying, this is a time to actually have someone talk with someone to really guide you through the process, right? It can be if it's that scary. So it's more, can I sit for a few moments? can I put a timer for 2 minutes? And I've done that with some of my clients, my coaching clients. Just put a timer for a minute or two. Sometimes a minute seems forever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stay in that space in between, things just kind of calm down. Now, there's
And
more to do. This is just one way to do it, right?
it's
More ways.
cultural to our busy culture right now
Yeah.
to be quiet. But when we look at Jesus, what did Jesus do? He left a lot to
Yes.
be quiet, to do what the Father had asked him to do. So,
Yeah.
as we're moving into that silence piece, or we're moving into gathering ourselves up, you said something that I wrote down. You said that this silence gives us more choices. When we're struggling with
Mm.
someone who's dealing with addiction who doesn't feel like they have choices, we don't feel like we have choices. We just feel like we need to fix it. What will the mind body emotional connection, what kind of choices will that give us?
It's not as much as the silence gives us choices as more the awareness gap. There's a gap inside. And when we feel super intense about responding in a certain way, sometimes just breathing and counting can help. So anything that we can help us increase that gap is going to be of help. It's almost like there's two ways to this. If someone is procrastinating, their gap is too big.
Okay.
Right? They're
That's a
like,
good way of
oh,
thinking about it. Yeah.
I'm not gonna do, I do this? Oh, where do I start?
Uh-huh.
And sometimes when we have like an impulsive reaction, it feels there's no gap and I have to respond. The question is really, is this really life and death? This is one of the best things. And sometimes my clients or students, they ask me, and this is happening and it's so intense. And I'm like, what is different right now? Is it really an emergency? Because if
But
it is an emergency,
it feels like an emergency. The trigger is so high, so
yes,
fast, and it feels like an emergency. How do you put in the awareness gap?
that's That's such a great question. It's the same as with thoughts. Thoughts feel like a reality, but they're not. Thoughts are not the reality. They're just thoughts. Emotions, they feel like a reality, but they're not. But as one wonderful internal family system coach helped me with, he said, listen, emotions, all they need is to be felt. There's no, it's like, oh, but sometimes we cannot. So here's one possibility. Let's try for 30 seconds, right? So increase
just to feel it, even if you're
a
in the
little bit,
situation, just to feel it.
just to feel at 30 seconds. Sometimes for an addiction, it helps for people to say, play the tape forward. Like you just exemplified so beautifully earlier. You said, I'm going to feel so much better tomorrow if I don't eat this cake. Play
Yeah.
the tape forward. What's going to happen if I respond? But sometimes just to sit for 30 seconds or a minute or two, it's so helpful. So one of my triggers from my past is we used to get very overwhelmed. So when I get the overwhelm, it feels like that emergency, like you said, is that a real emergency? No, right? But our brain is offline. When our emotions are really intense, there's only the low road to emotions. Or the frontal lobe, it's out the window. So
Mm.
the only and I actually have an episode on that, the low road and high road to emotions. All we can do with them is just to slow it down, just slow it down and
You
use
say
coping skills.
this, but I had an incident last week with a friend who my whole brain went betrayal.
Of
That's
course,
just went
yes.
like that, and I went up like that. Now, without as much training as I've had, I blew up, but I blew up for less than 5 minutes, and then I said, "Hey, I need to process this, and I need to call you back." Years
Yes.
ago, I would have gone up one side, down the other, said some really ugly things I would have regretted, all those types of things. So I have some slight control, but I look at it as like blackout speaking. And that's something I don't want to do anymore. I don't want my brain to go so offline that my mouth
Yes.
is running and my brain is not, I can't
Yeah.
say my brain is not connected. the feelings that I had based on the situation were valid. It was not appropriate for me to handle it the way that I handled it.
Right.
I
Right.
needed to go talk to an outside person and then come back and handle it in a
Right.
different way. So that was the key moment for me, was the feelings were valid and they needed to be validated. They didn't need to be validated with that person in that high of a trigger state. I
Mhm.
didn't know how to stop it. I,
Right. And
or
when
maybe I knew how to stop it, but I was so far gone. The train was already down the track.
exactly, and that happens to all of us. Like it happens to me. It has to do, especially for someone really close. We have a lot of history with. They're gonna push all the right wrong buttons, so to speak, which actually many times are conditioned since we're kids, and sometimes it's intergenerational. Like there's
Mm,
stuff there is transmitted, from generation to generation. Like all of a sudden, the brain is offline. But here's a thing to remember. So there's certain things, right? Like you talk with someone, you removed yourself. Coping skills are wonderful. I always encourage people, and including myself, have a list with what are the 5 things that you could do where in that situation, write them on an index card because you're not going to be able to think about them. The frontal lobe is offline. Write them. What is it? Is it
yeah.
music? Is it taking a quick walk? Is it taking a nap? What is it? You know yourself, write them down. Obviously, if it's a true emergency, ask for help, call 911. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If it's a true emergency, we always need to ask for help. But that awareness gap is trained over time. And this is where we need the sense of safety as well. Actually, you raised a very good point. In Thriving in Christ, I remember this number because it's so easy. Episode 100, I
Okay.
actually describe how change happens from an awareness level. It's kind of like what you just said. Initially, we're going to catch ourselves after, if ever. People, we're gonna have a blown up, but we might not even see it. Eventually, someone will bring it to us, and eventually, we're like, "Oh, okay, now I get it." So we catch it afterwards. But then, in time, we're gonna catch it while it's happening. This is actually progress.
Yeah. So I had some progress.
Huge,
I'd like to be
huge.
on the other side of going, you gave me information that I can't process. Thank you for the information. I will have to call you back.
Yes, exactly. So then, but if you're watching in disbelief as the train left the station, so to speak, just so you know, I know it feels uncomfortable, but most likely this is progress because you're catching it in the middle. And then the next phase is catching it before. So kind of knowing yourself, what kind of triggers. And I'm always amazed that you take 10 people in the same situation, you're going to get 10 different results. So
Yeah.
part of it is not what they're saying, but the filter, my mindset, my lens with which I'm responding, that belongs to me. So I have to own that. I cannot say this person made me do that. That is not possible. It's
Nope.
not
It was totally
realistical.
me. Yes, it was
Not
totally me. And
realistical.
I did go back and apologize and say, I behaved inappropriately. And I did. I did behave inappropriately because that was not the person I needed to work the feelings out with.
Yeah, and it happened to me recently. So taking ownership and realizing, oh, what is my response? I'm owning the response. And not only that, but I'm owning the lens with
Yes.
I see the
Yes.
problem. And that's
Yes.
really important that, hey, I'm in my own movie. Guess what? The other person, they're in their own movie. Most likely they didn't want to hurt me. It just landed this because of all the decades of, since I was young and I was hurt this way or that way. And it just landed. Our movies did not match.
This
But
is so awesome. Whew. We're going to have you back. Tell us again where we can find you. And again, it may not sound like we're talking about how to work with someone who's struggling with addiction, but I think your movie analogy is so clear in that they are running their own movie, whoever they are, your loved
yes,
ones running their own movie, you're running your own movie, and guess what, we're the stars of our own movie, even if we
yes,
might be the underdog in the movie. So what we've
yes.
been talking about is how to identify your own movie.
Yes, and the lens, and realizing that there is hope. Like
Yeah.
even that awareness that when you're watching yourself in disbelief, still reacting, that is progress because we're aware in it and we're moving it closer to even before. And there are some situations where it's really difficult, especially if you have a family member with addiction. Wow, don't we grow? I mean, it's just very, very difficult. So just big round of applauses to you as you're handling that. You're not alone. Find support, find your group to help you because it's not easy and we need a tribe to work
And
through
you
that.
have several places to find that. So give us your .com and where we can find more about you.
Yes. Teamforthesoul.com. This is my website where you'll see different programs. I have I have programs just for Christian women. I have the Wake Up to Your Soul program, which is like daily, as I said, just 10 minutes, start your day centered and grounded. I am on Thriving in Christ on YouTube and Spotify. And I'm on Facebook. I post minimally, sparingly on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, so people can find me there. And I do have a free offer, a daily renewal template. If someone is interested to start creating the rhythm, body, mind, heart, and soul, the 4 times a day, I can give you the link and you can put it there. So
Yeah,
interested.
we will put that in the show notes. Thank you so much. You have been very generous with your time. And I know it's brought me back to where when she came on, I said, I need to talk about burnout. And especially hidden burnout. So if you are feeling burned out, go over to Team for the Soul. We can't do this alone. Teamforthesoul.com.
Yes.
Teamforthesoul.com. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for everything you're doing for your ministry. And just, it's such a joy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Faith Over Addiction podcast. Remember, nothing changes until something changes. Today is your day to step out in faith and make a difference. You are a daughter of the King, a woman who can spark incredible ripple effects of hope and healing, not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, and God's kingdom. If this episode encouraged you, bless someone else by sharing it. Send it to a friend who needs a little hope or post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you. And hey, if you're ready to reclaim your God-given identity and create a safe, loving space for yourself and those you care about, let's talk. Book a quick call with me today, and I'd love to hear your story and help you take the next step. Oh, and don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts, search for Faith Over Addiction, and leave me a review. Your feedback not only makes my day, but helps other women find this podcast and step into freedom too. You are strong, you are loved, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Until next time, keep walking boldly into the life God has for you.